The Supreme Court's reprieve as far as the government of West Bengal is concerned. The Supreme Court has put a stay on the Lok Sabha privileges, committee proceedings. As far as that committee is concerned, that needs to be set up after the complaint that was made by the BJP MP. So that is the latest that we are getting. Breaking news coming in. Let's just go across to my colleague Saurabh Gupta. Saurabh Gupta, what are you hearing from your sources? So we have Sunil also joining us to get us more on this. Sunil, a huge reprieve when it comes to the government of West Bengal.
That's right. It's very rare that in a mentioning in the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice of India consulting his fellow judges and hearing Mr. Kapil Sibal as well as Mr. Singhvi on a continuous basis about the grounds. They cited the constitutional judgments, 5-judge benches, and also heard the other side. Where the Secretary General's Council was saying very categorically that this is just the initial proceedings, and it's on that basis the Chief Justice of India said we're going to stay the proceedings, even though the request had been given not to stay the proceedings, saying this is just an initial preliminary hearing, saying that and issued notices to all parties that they would like to get a first-hand knowledge, because we must remember, when you use privileges against officers, it has a huge repercussion. What is the incident? Because as was pointed out to the Supreme Court by the West Bengal Council, both Mr. Singhvi, Sheikh Singhvi, as well as Kapil Sibal, the DGP and the Chief Secretary were not even present at the site. And on what basis then do you say breach of privilege? Even if the Speaker has taken cognizance of it and now issued and sent notices, is this a new way to harass officers of the state? And it's in that point of view, the Supreme Court has stayed the entire matter. And as I said, it's a very rare case that they intervene. The Lok Sabha Secretariat trying to say, no, this is the initial proceeding. But I think the Supreme Court wasn't ready to listen at this present juncture, because this has a huge bearing on the parliamentary system, not only on the breach of privilege and how you cannot misuse it beyond a particular point against state government officials, because then what will happen is it's going to become a case for everybody to start using privileges as a means to settle differences with officers in state governments.
Right. We also have Saurabh joining us. Saurabh, take us through the proceedings in court as well.
Well, this is a huge reprieve for the West Bengal, government. And obviously the Trinamool Congress, the ruling party in West Bengal, has been saying that the privileges notice that has come to, the top officers of the West Bengal government or administration is politically motivated. Now, Sukanta Majumdar, the MP, Member of Parliament, also the state BJP president, who was on his way to Sandeshkhali that day, was protesting. It was a BJP protest. It was a political protest very much. And it was also that he was protesting and he had stood atop a car, and that is when he fell. And, to call like Sunil was pointing out, to call the Chief Secretary, to call the DGP with the Privileges Committee on something like this is also, unheard of, and which is why, like you were saying, it's a very rare case. But that had happened, and having said that, the officers moved to court, and the court seems to have stayed that action of the Privileges Committee now. This is a reprieve for the Trinamool Congress, but there are multiple other petitions as well. For example, the Supreme Court also has a petition before it where there is a demand for a CBI probe and also or an SIT, a Special Investigation Team probe on the lines of, what has been set up in other places. So that is something that, again, there's a petition before the Supreme Court. But this particular petition, where the West Bengal government officers, the top officers, the Chief Secretary and the DGP, moved the Supreme Court, getting a reprieve from the Supreme Court. And the Trinamool Congress has all said that this has been a political move. The use of privilege as an MP, and the Privileges Committee, is something that they felt was purely political, and that is something that, they had pointed out. In fact, like my colleague Sunil was pointing out, that, the petitioner, the lawyer for the petitioners argued that the Chief Secretary and the DGP weren't even present when this protest was happening, where Sukanta Majumdar suffered those injuries. So obviously a reprieve for the top two officers of the West Bengal administration, the top police officer, the DGP, and the Chief Secretary of West Bengal.